It's this. I think I had an empanada bit in my mask.
Ouch.
Let's go to the KUM News Zoom room where the State Historic Preservation Officer Pat Lujan is standing by. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Hi, Pat.
Hi.
Uh,
How you guys doing?
we're doing good. We're
Hi,
doing
DC.
good. So I don't know if you wanted to share because remember I was trying to get you on earlier and you said that you got a meeting and then the meeting you might have more info for the show. So do you want to kind of start there if you can?
Sure, yeah. So, I think one of the topics that has come up recently with former Governor Carl Gutierrez coming out and saying that, that the public should or the government should pay for the archaeological work on for private landowners. And so that's been a topic of discussion pretty much, hot and heavy within the Historic Preservation Office. We're awaiting an official Attorney General's opinion on that based off of different historic preservation laws, local laws. And the preliminary indicator is that, the burden should be on the government. And so still waiting for the official to drop. However, we're planning for, a change of course on how we're going to do that with the existing staff that we have. What is it going to take to get to rightfully posture into that where the government, would have to assume that burden or that responsibility. So it's still a lot of unclarity, but we're putting a lot of things together to move ahead with that. And I think, everything, there's a positive in everything. And so this really basically gives us an opportunity to look through our local statutes to kind of revisit them, right? Because we're operating most of them on 30, 31, 32-year-old laws. And so we definitely need to cross this bridge and work with our oversight, Senator Talena Nelson, and, to see what is relevant today that probably was misunderstood 30 years ago and move us forward with that. So, still a developing story, but the bottom line is what is the intent of the law and how we're going to move forward with it.
How would that be funded if the government assumes the cost of having to do any So basically, guys, just to bring you along, let's say you're building a house, you build anything, you got to go get your permit or whatever from the SHPO. So if you're building a house, you go to get your permit, they come out, oh my God, there's a whole archaeological site here. Then you would right now have to pay for it to be dug up and studied or whatever. And then sometimes you guys just have to stop work altogether, right?
Yeah, so it's a research intensive, right? That our office goes through, and a lot of research, and we kind of get the blame on delays, but that's the nature of our office. Is we really have to do our due diligence on it. So I brought out some numbers, and over the last couple of years, about over 90% of the permits that we review. We sign off and we're like, okay, there's no historic properties that are anticipated. However, there is that 7, 8, 9, 10% that we're like, okay, according to our previous surveys or what they call the area of potential effect, which is a radius around an area, there's a probability that you might have historic properties on your property. So, then we put together and recommend and issue a certificate of approval that requires archaeological work. So now there's an opinion that's, about to come out that says that the government has to have that burden and assume that burden. So putting together some numbers, how much is that going to cost, the government to do that? Do we have the capacity to do that? Right now, we barely have the capacity to do our regular permitting reviews. It's really, really difficult, right? And so, how can we posture up to that level, and how long is it going to take, and how much it's going to cost, and what's the effects? Because it looks like the development on Guam is just going to get even more busy, and we are in the thick of that process. So, trying to balance that and trying not to be too much of a delay while still fulfilling our mission you know,
That's the
it's a
challenge, right?
difficult task.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're just in the middle of that, and I think you're going to see it's leaning towards another legislative review with our laws and updating them for sure.
So this was former Governor Gutierrez had, I think, written something in the local media, and this was kind of with his permitting czar hat, right? So he's basically
Correct.
saying that this is one of the processes that he would like to streamline. Were you blindsided by that, or did you talk to Uncle Carl beforehand?
No, I wasn't blindsided. It's kind of been a discussion for a little bit. Um, and just you're looking at ambiguous laws that causes this, right? So it's a bridge that I think we eventually would have to have crossed, and so we're here now. So um, it's gonna be painstaking a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think we should be coming out as an island with better historic preservation laws, more clear to be precise.
Right. So you're just basically saying we need to update and an overhaul and an examination of existing laws.
Absolutely. Yeah, and in the meantime, with the permitting process that's ongoing, we're just gonna have to adjust fire a little bit, and how that's gonna look with the limited amount of resources that we have in house. Um, it's gonna be daunting, but we're gonna try and figure this out.
I wanted to follow up on that human burial that was discovered about a month ago, more than a month ago, at Anderson South, the old Mogfog area. Is there any
Yep.
updates on that?
None yet. I think that's still being studied, but that's again, painting a different picture of the Northern Plateau, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that they're finding, burials over in that area, then that definitely, again, you know, it's we're looking at a holistic thing here, as far as, you know, just to connect that to what I just had spoken about and updating our local laws, right? Because the intent of the law and what we knew 30, 40 years ago is different from what we know today, from an archaeological standpoint, from a historical standpoint, from a tomorrow standpoint, right? And so these findings really help, with what we do and our practices today and how it's going to shape moving forward. So, again, that's a pretty much, is that here's an example, right? So we found burials there. Does that mean that there were no burials when they built the village of Dededo? Right? But we didn't have the historic preservation laws in place at that time. We didn't have archaeology on Guam as we know it today, right? So it leaves the question of, was Dededo even more, established and civilized back in our ancient times than we know it?
Yeah.
So it just poses more questions.
Right, right. Is there any projects that you guys are working on right now?
Projects? Anything in
any
particular?
review?
There's many.
Yeah,
We see them all. We
yeah.
see them all.
Right. All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or get out? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
just this evolving situation with how this is going to play out, right? If the burden is going to be on the government to pay for the archaeological work for homeowners.
Mhm.
I feel the pain. It's costly. Once upon a time, a survey cost anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000. Now it's in excess of 10,000, and that definitely does add to any cost. But I just ask that people work with us and just remember the true spirits of our ancestors. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to purposely slow down projects or stop projects. That's furthest from the case. That's not our job, is to stop projects. We're trying to fulfill our mission and learn more about our ancestors through archaeology, through oral history, through all of that stuff. So more to come in that regard, and I appreciate you guys for always having me to give updates.
Yep. I wanted to ask Pat before you go. Are you guys getting any of the American Rescue Plan funding? Did you put in a formal ask to the gov?
We have. But I'm not tracking that right now. But yes, we did put our request in for more staffing. So that's looking positive. But as far as, how that's handed over, I've got enough on my plate to figure that out.
So you basically just sent your wish list down to Adloop, said, hey, I need.
I did, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what kind of staff what's your wish list for ARP?
Definitely more archaeologists. We have one, we recruited one as a GovGuam archaeologist, and then we have another one that was part of the Guam Build Up programmatic agreement that's on board. So I have 3 right now, which is a godsend, but there's still room for more. We put in for 2 more, and even in the backside of our operations, a GIS specialist, more technicians to go out in the field. Even my admin, I've got 2 admin people for the entire operation, and it's painful. It hurts. It's a lot of work and a lot of requirements to do, and so a lot of heavy lifting. And so at least I know that there's help on the way as far as recruitment.
Mm-hmm. I did want to ask. There was something that the Guam Youth Congress.
Oh, yeah.
I believe they introduced a bill.
I think they passed it.
They did.
Yeah. I want to say, or the introducer, they're discussing it, or it's being voted on, Pat. But this is the conflict of interest for the SHPO office. So they put the crosshairs right on you. And I guess it was relative to your service.
No pun intended, right?
Right. Yeah. Relative to your service with the United States Air Force, right?
Yeah. So, guys, I've always, this is a topic of discussion ever since I took the position a couple of years ago or came back into the office. And to me, really, to me, I view it, and I think a lot of people view it as more of an asset with that extra experience and background dealing and negotiating and sitting down and understanding DOD, because I think DOD has always been the main topic, right? The biggest target on their back. So with me, growing in that environment, understanding how they operate, is an asset to this position, because I know their parameters and understand how they operate and know what our mission is as well. To get what we need, basically. And pretty much all the offers or the suggestions and recommendations that I've made to them, they've done it. So I'm happy about that.
Right. I guess one of the other concerns I'd heard about was there's no point, Pat, where your Air Force bosses were like, hey, settle down on that SHPO stuff you're doing.
And I guess they never seen me in these meetings when I sit down with them. So I don't know if I need to video them and prove a point, but I don't think that's needed.
All right, Pat.
Thanks,
you good?
Pat.
You good?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good luck with your ARP wish list, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
All right, Pat.
Bye.
Pat Lujan, State Historic Preservation Officer. It's 9:30. Maget Bavakwa is coming up right here. You want to just get him on now?